The great crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with worried voices. Hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy sat in floating seats, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with their own inner light. But today, fear showed on every face, no matter what species they belonged to. Admiral Keth stood at the center podium, his blue skin darker than usual with stress. His forearms moved nervously as he prepared to speak. The room slowly grew quiet as all eyes turned toward him. "Friends of the Council," he began, his voice carrying to every corner of the massive chamber. "I bring terrible news from the Outer Rim territories." A low murmur ran through the crowd. The Outer Rim was where the galaxy's edge met empty space. It was supposed to be safe, boring even. Nothing important ever happened there. 3 weeks ago, we lost contact with Battle Group 7, Keth continued. 200 ships and 50,000 crew members. Gone. The murmur grew louder. 200 ships was not a small force. The Corvan Empire's military was known throughout the galaxy for being strong and careful. They did not lose entire battle groups. "Show them the recording," called out General Vix from the Hegemony section. Her insect-like body clicked as she spoke. Keth nodded and activated the hologram projector. A three-dimensional image appeared above the podium, showing the bridge of a Corvan warship. The crew looked panicked. Alarms were blaring, and red warning. Lights flashed everywhere. "This is Commander Zell of the warship Thunder's Edge," came a voice from the recording. "We are under attack by unknown vessels. Repeat, unknown vessels engaging our fleet." The recording shook as the ship was hit by weapons fire. Through the static, they could hear the commander shouting orders. "Sir, their ships are too small to carry weapons that powerful," reported someone off-screen. "How are they doing this?" "They're moving like they know what we're going to do before we do it," the commander replied, his voice filled with confusion and fear. "It's like they can read our minds." The recording cut to static, then silence. The council chamber was dead quiet. Everyone stared at the empty space where the hologram had been. "That was the last transmission we received," Keth said softly. "When our rescue ships arrived at the coordinates, they found nothing. No wreckage, no bodies, no trace that a battle had ever taken place." "One incident does not make a pattern," spoke Council Leader Thane, though his ancient voice carried doubt. The old reptilian being had led the council for over a century and had seen many strange things, but his golden eyes showed worry. "I wish it were just one incident," Keth replied. He activated the projector again, this time showing a star map. Several systems in the Outer Rim were marked with red symbols. "The Hegemony lost an exploration fleet here 2 months ago. The Collective's mining ships disappeared here last month, and yesterday, we received word that the Voidborn Raiders have declared the entire sector off-limits." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Voidborn Raiders were the most feared pirates in the galaxy. They attacked anyone, anywhere without fear. If they were avoiding an area, something truly dangerous lived there. "What do we know about these systems?" asked Dr. Lin, the human representative from Earth's distant colonies. Her small form seemed tiny among the larger alien delegates, but her voice carried authority. "Very little," Keth admitted. "The area was surveyed 300 years ago. 12 star systems, mostly rocky planets and gas giants. Nothing valuable, no signs of intelligent life. The survey team classified it as empty space and moved on." "Wait," interrupted General Vix, her compound eyes focusing on the star map. "Didn't that survey team ever report back?" Keth paused, checking his datapad. His face grew pale. "No, they didn't. We assumed their ship had mechanical problems and they died in space. It happens sometimes on long surveys." 300 years of ships going missing, and no one connected the pattern?" Dr. Lin asked, though she didn't sound angry, just surprised. "The incidents were spread out over centuries," Keth explained. "A mining ship here, a scout vessel there, a pirate group going quiet. Each incident seemed random. No one was looking for a pattern." Council Leader Thane stood up slowly, his great bulk casting shadows across the podium. "What are you suggesting, Admiral? That some unknown civilization has been hiding in empty space for 3 centuries, destroying any ship that comes near?" "I Don't know what I'm suggesting, Keth replied honestly. But something is out there. Something that can make entire fleets disappear without a trace. Something that even the Void-born raiders are afraid to face. The chamber erupted in nervous chatter. Representatives whispered to their aides, while others argued loudly about what should be done. Some wanted to send a massive war fleet to investigate. Others suggested they should simply avoid the area and pretend it didn't exist. What do you recommend? Thane asked, his voice cutting through the noise. Keth looked around the chamber at hundreds of worried faces. We need to know what we're dealing with. I suggest we send a diplomatic mission, a small, peaceful ship with a message of friendship. If there is an intelligent species out there, maybe we can talk to them instead of fighting them. And if they destroy the diplomatic ship too? General Vix asked. Keth's expression was grim. Then we'll know we're at war with something we don't understand. Captain Sujin stared at the view screen as her ship approached the edge of the mysterious sector. The diplomatic vessel Peace Runner was small compared to a warship, but it carried the hopes of the entire Galactic Council. Behind her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, everyone aware they might not return home. Captain, I'm detecting something strange, reported Lieutenant Nam from the sensor station. His young face looked confused as he studied his readings. There are structures out there, but they don't make sense. What do you mean? Sujin asked, moving to look over his shoulder. They look like simple metal platforms, nothing fancy, but they're arranged in a perfect pattern around the entire border. It's like someone built a fence around 12 star systems using basic space stations. Communications Officer Park spoke, up from her station. The energy readings are very low too. These structures barely show up on our sensors. If we weren't looking for them, we might have missed them completely. Sujin frowned. Every military academy taught the same lesson about border defenses. They should be big, powerful, and scary to look at. They should make enemies think twice about attacking. These stations look like something a poor colony might build to mark their territory. Captain, Nam said suddenly, I'm getting more readings. There are small ships moving between the stations, but they're not following normal patrol patterns. Show me. The main screen changed to display a tactical view of the area. Dozens of tiny dots moved between the larger stations, but instead of flying in straight lines or circles like normal patrols, they seemed to dance through space in random patterns. Are they trying to confuse our sensors? Asked Security Chief Han from his position near the door. No, sir, Nam replied, studying his instruments. I think they already know exactly where we are. Look at this. He highlighted one of the small ships on the screen. As they watched, it changed course and began flying directly toward them, even though they were still several light minutes away. How is that possible? Park whispered. Our stealth systems should make us invisible at this distance. Before anyone could answer, her communications panel began beeping. Captain, incoming message, audio only. Put it through. A calm male voice filled the bridge, speaking perfect galactic standard with what sounded like a slight accent. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Jin of the Terran Defense Force. You are approaching our territorial boundary. Please state your purpose and reduce speed immediately. The bridge crew exchanged confused looks. Terran was not in any of their databases, and they had studied every known species in the galaxy before starting this mission. Sujin activated her microphone. This is Captain Sujin of the Galactic Council vessel Peace Runner. We come seeking peaceful contact with your people. We wish to establish diplomatic relations. Copy that, Peace Runner. I am Commander Jin. Please hold your current position while we verify your intentions. This may take a few minutes. The channel went quiet. Sujin looked around at her crew. Nam, are you showing any ships near us? No, Captain. The closest contact is still 20 minutes away at maximum speed. Then how is he talking to us like he's right next to us? Park checked her equipment twice before answering. The signal is coming from everywhere, Captain. It's like the voice is being transmitted from multiple sources at once. That's impossible, Han muttered. The voice returned, still sounding relaxed and friendly. Thank you for waiting, Captain Sujin. I've received permission to escort you to our diplomatic station. However, your backup ships will need to remain at the border. Sujin felt her blood turn cold. Commander Jin, we don't have any backup ships. We came alone. There was a pause before Jin responded, and when he did, there was amusement in his voice. Captain, the 43 vessels following you at maximum sensor range would suggest otherwise. Your friends have been trailing you since you left Council space. That's impossible, Nam said quietly, frantically working his sensors. I'm not detecting anything. Would you like me to prove it? Jin asked politely. I can have them light up their engines for a few seconds. Might help your sensors find them. Before Sujin could respond, her sensor board suddenly came alive with contacts. Dozens of ships appeared on the screen, all at the edge of their sensor range. Ships that had been following them without being detected. How did you... she began. Trade secret, Jin replied. Now about that diplomatic meeting. You're welcome to proceed to our station, but your escort fleet needs to stay where they are. We prefer small meetings for first contact situations. Sujin realized that these Terrans had been watching them from the moment they entered the sector, probably longer. They knew about ships her own people couldn't detect, and they seemed to find the whole situation amusing rather than threatening. Very well, Commander Jin. We accept your terms. Excellent. Please follow the ship that's about to appear off your starboard side. And Captain, welcome to human space. Suddenly, a sleek vessel materialized next to them, not decloaking but simply becoming visible as if it had always been there. It was smaller than their diplomatic ship with clean lines and no visible weapons. It looked fast but not particularly dangerous. Follow us, Peace Runner. Jin's voice came from the escort ship. And don't worry about your friends back there. We'll keep an eye on them while you're visiting. As they followed the human ship deeper into the forbidden sector, Sujin wondered what kind of people could make entire war fleets disappear while acting like gracious hosts to unexpected guests. She had a feeling she was about to find out. The diplomatic station floated quietly between two massive gas giants, looking nothing like what Captain Sujin had expected. Instead of the gleaming towers or fortress-like structures that most advanced civilizations built, this looked simple and practical. Clean metal corridors and basic rooms like something built by people who cared more about function than showing off. Commander Jin waited for them in the docking bay, and Sujin was surprised by how ordinary he appeared. Average height, black hair, wearing a plain gray uniform with no fancy decorations. He could have been any human from the outer colonies, except for his eyes. Those eyes seemed to see everything and miss nothing. Welcome to Haven Station, he said with a slight bow. I hope your journey was comfortable. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us, Sujin replied, trying to hide her nervousness. Behind her, Security Chief Han and Communications Officer Park stayed close, both clearly on edge. Jin led them through corridors that hummed with quiet activity. They passed other humans going about their business, and Sujin noticed that everyone moved with purpose. No wasted motion, no casual conversation. These people acted like they were always ready for something to happen. Your people seem very focused, she observed. We've learned that being ready for trouble is better than being surprised by it, Jin replied simply. They entered a small meeting room with a basic table and chairs. The walls were covered with star charts, but not of this galaxy. The patterns were completely different, showing systems and nebulae that Sujin had never seen before. Those maps, she began. Our original home, Jin said, his voice carrying old sadness. Before we came here, Sujin studied the charts more carefully. You're not from this galaxy at all, are you? Sharp eyes, Captain. No, we're not. We're refugees. Jin gestured for them to sit. Our entire civilization fled here after our home. Galaxy was destroyed. Destroyed? Park spoke up, unable to hide her shock. How do you destroy an entire galaxy? Jin's expression grew dark. Something we still don't fully understand. It started at the galactic core and spread outward like a wave, consuming everything in its path. Stars, planets, entire solar systems just stopped existing. That's impossible, Han said flatly. We thought so too, until we watched it happen. Jin activated a small hologram projector on the table. The image showed a galaxy similar to their own, but as they watched, a dark area began spreading from the center. We had maybe 50 years warning before it reached our sector. Every species in the galaxy worked together to build evacuation fleets. The hologram showed thousands of ships fleeing the expanding darkness. Many didn't make it. How many survived? Sujin asked quietly. Of humanity? Maybe 10 million out of 40 billion. The other species? Jin shook his head. We don't know. The evacuation fleets scattered in different directions. We might be the only ones who made it this far. The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Sujin spoke. When you arrived here, this sector was empty? Completely. 12 dead star systems with no life, no settlements, nothing valuable according to your people's surveys. We spent 50 years making it livable, building stations, establishing colonies, creating farms to feed our children. Jin's voice hardened. Then your species started showing up, demanding we leave. The ships that disappeared came here with weapons powered and demands ready. They told us to abandon our homes and submit to their authority. Authority we never agreed to recognize. Jin leaned forward. Captain, we didn't attack anyone. First, every battle started when someone decided our children didn't deserve the homes we built for them. Han shifted uncomfortably. The report said your ships used impossible tactics. We learned different ways of fighting in our original galaxy. When you're facing an enemy that can destroy stars, you don't win through brute force. You win by being smarter, faster, and more unpredictable than they expect. But your ships are so small, Park observed. Jin smiled grimly. Size means nothing if you can't hit your target. Your people build big ships because they think big equals powerful. We build ships that can do the job without being easy targets. What do you want from us? Sujin asked directly. Nothing. We want to be left alone to raise our families and rebuild our civilization. We want our children to grow up without wondering if they'll have to run again. Jin's voice carried deep pain. We've been refugees for 3 generations, Captain. We're tired of running. Then why does your territory keep expanding? Because the threats keep coming. Every time we think we've established a safe border, someone else decides to test our resolve. We expand our defensive perimeter because we have to, not because we want to conquer anyone. Sujin thought about the fear she'd seen in the council chambers, the way entire war fleets avoided this sector. You've made the entire galaxy afraid of you. Good, Jin said simply. Fear keeps our children safe. Your people understand strength, so we showed them strength. Now, they leave us alone. And if the council refuses to recognize your territory? Jin's expression didn't change, but something cold entered his eyes. Then the council will learn the same lesson everyone else has learned. We're not going anywhere, Captain. This is our home now, and we'll defend it against anything. Looking at this ordinary-seeming man who spoke of defending against anything, Sujin finally understood why even the galaxy's most powerful militaries gave human space a wide berth. These weren't conquerors or warmongers. They were survivors who had lost everything once and would never let it happen again. Fleet Admiral Dongwu of the Hegemony stared at the massive view screen showing his war fleet spread across space like a metal constellation. 1,000 ships, the largest force ever assembled by his people. Behind him on the bridge, his officers worked quietly at their stations, preparing for what should be an easy victory. Sir, the council still recommends we avoid direct confrontation, his aide reported nervously. Dongwu's scaled face twisted with anger. The council are cowards hiding behind their desks. A few refugee ships destroy some patrol vessels and suddenly the entire galaxy is afraid of ghosts. He turned to face his tactical officer. Deploy the ships in terror formation. I want these humans to see what real military power looks like. The fleet began moving into position, battleships arranging themselves in perfect geometric patterns that had made enemies surrender for centuries. Each ship was massive, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. The formation was designed to look like the hand of an angry god reaching out to crush anyone foolish enough to resist. Sir, Single contact approaching from the human territory, reported the sensor officer. Small vessel, minimal energy signature. One ship? Dongwu laughed. They're sending one tiny ship against 1,000 warships. These humans are either very brave or very stupid. The small ship approached without fear, moving in a straight line toward the center of the Hegemony formation. It looked like a simple patrol craft, the kind used for routine border checks. Nothing about it suggested it could threaten even one of their warships, let alone an entire fleet. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. Put it through. A calm male voice filled the bridge. This is Commander Taemin of the Terran Defense Force. You are approaching our territorial boundary with hostile intent. Please withdraw immediately. Dongwu stepped forward, his voice booming with authority. I am Fleet Admiral Dongwu, Commander. Of the Hegemony's first battle fleet, you will surrender your illegal occupation of this territory, or we will remove you by force. I see, came the reply, still perfectly calm. Well, Admiral, you've been warned. Consider this your only chance to leave peacefully. Are you threatening me with one small ship? No, sir, I'm giving you good advice. Taemin out. The human ship disappeared from their sensors as if it had never been there. Where did it go? Dongwu demanded. Unknown, sir. It just vanished. No. Ship can just vanish. Find it. Before anyone could respond, the science officer's voice rose in panic. Admiral, I'm reading massive gravitational distortions throughout the system. The asteroids. They're moving. Dongwu looked at the tactical display and felt his blood turn cold. Hundreds of asteroids were beginning to move, accelerating toward his fleet with impossible precision. But that wasn't the worst part. Sir, our targeting computers are malfunctioning, reported the weapons officer. They're not locking onto the asteroids. They're targeting our own ships. Switch to manual targeting. I can't, sir. The system thinks our own fleet are enemy contacts. Dongwu watched in growing horror as chaos erupted throughout his formation. Ships were trying to target asteroids that seemed to dance through space like living things, while their own computers turned weapon systems against each other. Then, the human ships appeared. They didn't decloak or emerge from hiding. They simply became visible, scattered throughout the asteroid field like they had been waiting there all along. Small, fast vessels that moved like they were part of the rocks themselves. How many ships? Dongwu shouted. I count 50. No, 100. Sir, they keep appearing and disappearing. I can't get an accurate count. The human ships didn't fight like anything in the military textbooks. They used the moving asteroids as cover, appearing just long enough to fire precise shots before vanishing. Again, their weapons weren't designed to destroy the Hegemony ships, but to disable them. They're targeting our engines and weapon systems, the tactical officer reported. They're not trying to kill us, just stop us from fighting. Why aren't they destroying us? Unknown, sir. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a lesson in warfare that no military academy had ever taught. The human ships moved through the debris, field like dancers, never where the Hegemony expected them to be. They struck with surgical precision, disabling ship after ship while avoiding direct confrontation. In 30 minutes, the greatest war fleet in Hegemony history was reduced to floating metal hulks and emergency escape pods. Dongwu found himself in a life pod with his surviving bridge crew, watching as small human rescue ships began collecting survivors from the wreckage. Through the pod's small window, he could see the asteroid field returning to its normal patterns, as if the entire battle had been choreographed from the beginning. Commander Taemin's voice came over the emergency channel. Admiral Dongwu, you and your people are free to go. Your rescue ships are already on the way. How? Dongwu whispered, not sure if his microphone was working. You fought the battle you wanted to fight, Taemin replied gently. We fought the battle we needed to fight. The difference is that we've been fighting for our survival a lot longer than you've been fighting for your pride. You could have destroyed us all. Yes, but then your people would have sent bigger fleets. This way they'll think twice before testing us again. As the rescue ships arrived to collect the defeated fleet, Dongwu realized he was witnessing a new kind of warfare. one where victory came not from superior firepower, but from understanding the battlefield better than your enemy ever could. The humans had won without hatred, fought without anger, and shown mercy without weakness. It was terrifying in a way that simple destruction could never be. 6 months after the great defeat of the Hegemony fleet, the galaxy had quietly changed in ways that no one talked about openly. Captain Su Jin found herself returning to Haven Station, but this time she wasn't alone. 2 other ships accompanied her, carrying representatives from species that had been fighting each other for decades. The Corvan Empire and the Collective had been locked in a bitter war over mining rights in the Beta sector. Hundreds of ships destroyed, thousands of lives lost, and no end in sight. Then both sides had done something unprecedented. They had asked the humans to help solve their problem. Commander Jin met them at the docking bay, looking exactly as calm as he had months before. Behind him stood 2 other humans, a woman named So Young and a man called Hyunwoo. All 3 wore the same simple gray uniforms with no decorations or rank symbols. "Captain Su Jin, welcome back," Jin said with a slight smile. "I hope your journey was peaceful." "More peaceful than the last few months have been for these 2 species," she replied, gesturing toward the representatives from both sides who were carefully avoiding looking at each other. The Corvan delegate, General Kexvar, was a tall-scaled being with fierce red eyes who had spent his entire career fighting the Collective. Across from him stood High Coordinator Vex Lin, an insect-like creature whose people considered the Corvans to be violent savages. Both had requested human mediation, but neither looked happy about being in the same room. "Shall we begin?" Jin asked, leading them to a larger conference room than the one Su Jin had seen before. The walls were covered with detailed maps of local space, all clearly marked with boundaries that every species had learned to respect. "Before we start," General Kexvar said stiffly, "I want to make it clear that my people are only here because the Council suggested it. We don't need help from refugees." High Coordinator Vex Lin clicked her mandibles in agreement. "The Collective also questions why we should listen to a species that hides behind asteroids instead of fighting with honor," Jin nodded calmly. "I understand your concerns. You're both proud military traditions, and asking for help feels like admitting weakness." "We're not weak," Kexvar growled. "No, you're not," Jin agreed. "You're both very strong. That's why you've been fighting each other for 30 years with no winner. You're so evenly matched that the war could go on for another 30 years. So Young spoke up for the first time. "We've reviewed the conflict records. Both sides have lost approximately the same number of ships and personnel. The mining rights you're fighting over have produced no income for either side because the war makes the area too dangerous to work in." "The principle matters more than profit," Vex Lin declared. "Does it matter more than the lives of your soldiers?" Hyunwoo asked quietly. The room fell silent. Both representatives looked uncomfortable, but neither answered. Jin activated a holographic display showing the disputed star system. "Here's what we see. 2 proud civilizations destroying each other over rocks floating in space. Rocks that neither of you can use while you're busy fighting." "It's not that simple," Kexvar protested. "Actually, it is," Jin replied. "You're fighting because you've been fighting for so long that you've forgotten why you started. Your people are dying to prove a point that nobody remembers." Su Jin watched the exchange with fascination. The humans weren't taking sides or showing favoritism. They were simply pointing out facts that both sides already knew, but didn't want to admit. "What do you suggest?" Vex Lin asked reluctantly. So Young smiled. "Joint mining operation. Both species work the asteroids together, split the profits equally. Instead of spending resources destroying each other's ships, you pool your resources to build the most efficient mining operation in the galaxy. Work together?" Kexvar sounded horrified. "With them?" "You've been working together for 30 years, Hyunwoo observed. "You've developed tactics specifically designed to counter each other's strengths. You know each other's technology better than anyone else in the galaxy. You're already perfect partners." "We're enemies," Vex Lin protested. "You were enemies," Jin corrected. Now you're two species who need the same thing and have the skills to get it if you stop wasting energy on fighting. The negotiations continued for hours, but gradually both sides began to see the logic. The humans didn't threaten or intimidate. They just kept asking simple questions that made the war seem pointless and cooperation seem profitable. By the end of the day, both representatives had agreed to a trial partnership. Not because they suddenly liked each other, but because the humans had made it clear that continuing the war was stupid and expensive. As the various ships prepared to leave Haven Station, Sujin found herself alone with Jin in the observation deck. "How do you do it?" she asked. "Everyone in the galaxy is afraid of you, but you solve problems by talking instead of fighting." Jin looked out at the stars, where the lights of departing ships were growing dim. "Fear gets people's attention, but it doesn't solve problems. We learned that in our original galaxy. You can't fight your way to peace, but you'll fight if you have to." "Oh yes," Jin said simply. "We'll fight anyone who threatens our people or our home, but we'd rather teach people that fighting us isn't worth the cost." Months later, the Corvin Collective Mining Partnership became the most successful joint venture in galactic history. Other species began requesting human mediation for their disputes, not because they loved humans, but because human arbitrators had no territorial ambitions and the military strength to enforce their decisions. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Sometimes the most feared warriors were the ones who preferred not to fight at all.